this president could pick 5 Supreme Court justices. If Hillary Clinton gets in, she is now so far left that we're never going to have a country again.
Well, the next president will appoint Scalia's replacement, and 5 judges are more than 65 years old. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is 83, Anthony Kennedy 80, Stephen Breyer 78. So what's going to happen? Let's ask senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano.
I think they are both likely to pick people whose views would favor the expansion of the government.
And I'm surprised that this guy Obama proposed, Merrick Garland. He's described in the media as a centrist, popular centrist. And yet he's centrist left and right, but he's anti-libertarian. He always sides with the government.
In every single case in which he ruled as a federal appellate judge, because we did the research, he has sided with the government. Often Democratic nominees side with individual liberty when it comes to, say, the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure. This is a Democratic nominee who always, underscore the word, John, sides with the police and the government.
On Twitter and Facebook, I ask you, what rights do you fear the next court will take away? Candy Goldman posted, both presidential candidates have been clear they have no respect for freedom of speech. The First Amendment will be gutted.
I do not think that any significant change will come about during the presidency of Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton with respect to freedom of speech. I do not understand your viewers' apprehension, but I would suggest that on that one, not on others, but on that one, she can relax.
But look at the candidates. I mean, Hillary once tried to ban video game sales to minors. They both talked about cutting off parts of the Internet. They both want to ban flag burning.
But remember, the Supreme Court can only hear cases that are properly before it. There are no cases before the Supreme Court right now in which any of those traditional First Amendment liberties are likely to be overturned.
Good. Here's one thing Hillary Clinton told the Democratic National Convention that she wants her Supreme Court pick to do.
Expand voting rights, not restrict them.
And you're for that.
I am for the right of people to vote. I am not in favor of nitpicking requirements at the ballot box, but I'm also not in favor of voting fraud.
She's saying you shouldn't have to have a photo ID.
If the requirement for photo IDs has an effect on, let's say, people in the inner city who don't have driver's licenses, then the law is unconstitutional. I don't accept that, but that's what the law is, and this court has uniformly enforced it.
I mean, in this town, I have to show a photo ID to buy a cold pill.
Yes.
And you have to have it to drive, to fly, to get food stamps.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like an unreasonable thing to ask for to prevent voter fraud.
On this, you and I are on the same page, but the court is not. The court has so elevated the right to vote that you can barely ask the person's name.
Here's something else this new Supreme Court may rule on. This year, President Obama's Attorney General made this announcement.
Today, we are filing a federal civil rights lawsuit against the state of North Carolina. This action is about a great deal more than bathrooms.
More than bathrooms. But they're going to reach from Washington to every bathroom and
show me where the right to use a bathroom is a federally protected right. It's a property right, and it should be determined by whoever owns, leases, manages, or controls the property, and the federal government should have nothing to do with it.
On Facebook, Tasha Moore writes, she worries that Clinton and Trump will try to use the court to widen government's spying eye on private citizens. The scary part is that average people will be convinced it's okay, the right thing to do.
This I am terrified about. We are one vote away from unleashing the NSA to even more unbridled spying than we now have.
Why are you terrified? It's much less intrusive than being stopped at the airport. Most of our information is out there anyway. It's true, they can't prove they've stopped anything from what they've done so far, but it's logical to think that gathering this data might stop the people who want to kill us.
Yeah, except it doesn't work. But when people are afraid, it's human nature to opt for safety rather than freedom. Should the government be able to listen to every phone call, knock on every door, arrest anybody it wants? Would we be safer? There might be less crime, but who would want to live in that environment?
But that's much more intrusive than gathering this information quietly.
When the government gathers information about us, it knows too much about us, and it chills our behavior and deters us from being the free and happy people that Jefferson envisioned.
Do you worry more about a Clinton court or a Trump court?
I worry equally, John.
What would be the difference?
There'd be very little difference between the two.
But Trump has this list of people who sound pretty good.
They are, for the most part, with the exception of one of them, big government Republicans who would almost always side with the government on issues like surveillance and with the federal government in its disputes with the states.
Thank you, Judge Andrew Napolitano.